Coming up.
On top of that, we had such bad inventory on the market. Like,
That's it.
Yeah.
it was stuff that like I wouldn't put my grandma into, and she's blind.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. It was just she's actually not with us.
Recipe.
Welcome to the Subject Free Podcast. The unfiltered real estate podcast where four agents share real life stories from their careers in the crazy world of real estate. Now welcome Alan, Viv, Matt, and Adam.
Okay, welcome to the Subject Free Podcast. I'm Adam, this is Viv, Alan is cheering, and we've got Matt here, and we are brought to you by Legacy Brew Coffee. Pick one up at your local store today, right, Alan?
Pick one up anywhere you want.
Pick one up anywhere you want. So this will be released in 2024. So we want to be topical and
So we're coming to you from the future.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a quick wrap up because this is December right now when we're filming this, and so I kind of want to know, and I kind of think I do know, but I kind of want to know, and we'll go around the table. Maybe we'll start with Viv. How was 2023 for you? What give me your synopsis of the real estate market in 2023?
Well, I think there were 2 months that were busy. Mm-hmm. I think that was right before June, maybe 3 months. From March to June it was busy, and then it just dropped off completely.
And why did that drop off, do you think?
Because of the interest rates.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably the only thing. And now, today, sellers are holding very tight still, and buyers think that they can get the deal of a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And neither side is really budging, and everyone's like, it'll pick back up next year. And the buyers will be like, no, you're in more trouble next year. So, yeah, that's how it's been.
So you run a team. So talk about how you keep the troops going when the market's slow and they're kind of looking at you and being like, Viv, what's happening? How do we do this? How do we navigate these?
Well,
this
Adam,
environment?
she makes them do a lot of social.
Yeah, on her behalf, for sure. So how do you do that? How do you navigate this with a team?
Honestly, they're very aware of what's going on in the market. So if it's not just us, it's everyone else. Mm-hmm. You don't feel so alone in this. Mm-hmm. And as long as you as a team leader, you continue to try and get leads, that's as much as you can do.
Yeah.
Right?
What are you doing to lead gen?
Honestly, I'm buying leads currently and working a bit with Sal here and there too. Mm-hmm. But the leads are tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say buying leads, are you talking online? Are you talking traditional marketing? What do you mean by buying leads?
No, they're online. So
leads.
There's a ton of companies.
You should do what I do to buy leads.
What is that?
That's buying shots to get leads. That's
I was like very confused.
It's good.
That's your niche, Alan. I don't know if it is in the same
not
category.
Quite, not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not quite.
Yeah, definitely not quite. What about you, Matt? What's your? I mean, you just had a child, so that's kind of the big one. But and open a restaurant as well too. So you've been a very busy guy for 2023. But real estate wise, what's your synopsis of the last year?
Yeah, I mean, for me, real estate in 2023 was probably 40% of my bandwidth. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the whole focus by any means. But I agree with Viv. Like the spring was busy, but there was interesting things in it. You multiple offers again, but with those multiple offers, they were all subject offers. Mm-hmm. It wasn't subject free shootout anymore. Yeah. And then within that too, even in the bids, you're not seeing, oh well, I need to go 50,000 over, right? Yeah. Because back when interest rates were 1.2, are you getting, for your mortgage, you go, screw it, that's $50 on my mortgage. Yeah. Now it's 1,000. Now you can't do that. So it's just creeping up a little bit. Prices kind of, I found out here anyways, they held firm. Yeah. But
so did ours.
Just creeped up.
It was actually creeping up. So I don't think we saw a decrease until really these last few months.
Well, I think summer is summer anyways, right?
Yeah.
But then I think there was an interest rate hike just coming into summer.
Yeah. There was, I think two during summer.
Yeah. And so that everybody just went.
So
I'm out until I figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy summer.
And frankly, from my experience, people couldn't qualify for what they wanted to. So prices held, and then all of a sudden they couldn't find something at $700,000, and now they have to afford $600,000, and it looks even worse. So buyers looked at it and go, I don't even like what I can buy.
And then on top of that, we had such bad inventory on the market. Like,
That's it.
Yeah.
it was stuff that like I wouldn't put my grandma into, and she's blind.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It was just. She's actually not with us.
Rest in peace,
But
Grandma.
no, it was the stuff that was on the market was just relisted stuff that was garbage.
Yeah.
So it's like there's nothing.
Yeah,
And
I agree with Viv. Like it's a standoff now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, everybody needs to sell
Yeah.
to buy. There's not a lot of first time home buyers coming into the to the market right now.
Yeah. So what about you, Alan? How's
I mean,
for you?
for me, like this year, I made it a point like no sellers. Like I told my sellers to stay put if they could, if they could weather the storm.
Yeah.
And I didn't list a single property this year, which is awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
You
yeah.
told everyone- and they all listened to you and said, no,
Well,
okay.
except for
Strategy.
one, and she
Except
went
for
with somebody else, but then I had the buyer for it.
Oh,
remember that?
yeah.
But I mean, I told them all if they can hang tight,
Yeah.
just hang tight. And most of them are well off that they can.
Right.
So I had a lot of buyers going in aggressively, going at different product.
Mm-hmm.
And we won a lot of these things. We bought a lot of these things. But I mean, as soon as it kept creeping up further and further,
Mm-hmm.
especially once I'd say July, August hit, that's when it really started to slow down.
Yeah, they
So
just
then
drop
it's-
off.
Yeah, they just dropped off.
Yeah.
And after even like the finance guys that I have, they were like optimistic at first because they're like, oh, maybe you are right. The whole world's not going to turn on its head and, everyone's going to kill each other for food. But it came to that point where they're like, see, I was right.
Yeah.
We're going into a recession.
Yeah.
It's over.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's finance guys too. I think they look at it from a different lens. Finance guys look at things as like, like they'd be a stock kind of thing where there's supply and demand, which is not necessarily an issue unless you're talking about certain investments. So they don't understand the buyers and sellers mentality and the and inventory and
Well, it's very emotional, right?
Yeah.
Stock is not emotional.
Yeah.
shouldn't be. Yeah, shouldn't be. But So I mean, I think it's those people. I've found when I talk to financial advisors, and I used to be in that world. They have that set of that mentality, and some of them I know have never bought real estate, and in the last 15 years they've been waiting to be proved right. And even I had a conversation with a guy not too long ago, and he's like, well, I might be looking to get into the market now, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like after 15 years of waiting, he's like, well, I think everything's going to drop off 40% and I'll get in, and I'm just going, no, like that's not what's going to happen.
Like they've been saying this since
This is
the
Vancouver.
80s.
This is Vancouver.
This is since the 80s.
happened.
We've always had an issue with building enough homes.
Yeah.
And we're getting way more people than we ever expected back in those days. I remember when I first moved here from Toronto, it was the 90s, early 90s. I mean, even in elementary school, like we would talk about, hey, what are the capitals of each province? By the time it got to BC, we'd be like, Vancouver? They're like, yeah, good enough. Nobody knew a lot about BC.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So the fact that it exploded with this growth and they didn't have the infrastructure back then and they still don't now,
Still don't know.
I mean, we don't have enough housing for the people coming here.
And that's why they look at short-term rentals and say, well, maybe we can flood the market with short-term
so
rentals.
stupid.
That is so dumb.
It doesn't.
Stupid.
It doesn't work. I
They
mean,
never consult
No,
who they should
no.
be consulting
No.
before they
No,
make
no.
these changes.
No.
Vivian, that's the answer, right?
Yeah.
Consult Viv first,
Yeah.
and then
Talk to
then
Viv.
Talk to Viv first, and then we'll just.
She's
solve
starting a
this
new
housing
podcast
trend.
on it.
Yeah.
Ask me or die.
And then for myself, I'll answer my own question. I mean, it was probably one of my, if not my slowest year real estate wise. We listed a bit. I've still got stuff sitting right now that's on the market. I've got a showing tonight, which I'm like shocked about because it's been absolutely dead for the last little while. So I'm like, wow,
Are you
showing?
sure?
Are you sure? This year? You want to look at this right now? So I mean,
Do
really.
you have to re-download the TouchBase
I
app?
pretty much refresh, update. Yeah. So it's been obviously pretty slow for me, although it's been extremely busy for me too because I've focused a lot on what we've done with Real and building the brokerage. So that's been my main focus because, when we launched at the beginning of the year, we didn't know what we didn't know. And there were some things that we had to, make sure that Real was aware of that was specific to this market. And you don't know until, they don't know what they don't know. They didn't know how we did things. And so, through the first 6 months, I think it was just navigating that a lot and helping out advisors with that and trying to build a culture that we're trying to build and all this stuff. So it really, that's not paying work for me. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it just because, I brought on people and I want this to be a great experience.
Because you're a good guy.
Yeah, and that a little bit
And
as
then
well.
you've also been getting into weird situations with filming content with
Yeah,
me.
that's the thing when you bring people onto a brokerage is that you don't know what
Like, what did you guys film?
Yeah. Alan has got me into more filming this year that has been. I mean, we've got one coming out. I think in the next week or so with Legacy, and then there was our CSI one, which is a lot of fun. That was a great one,
and then the Hermosi ambush.
And then the Hermosi ambush that we've just started posting about. We've got more content to come.
Actually, one's going to be posted today, but this is back in December. So if this is February, you missed it.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's fun stuff, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily move the needle in terms of business, but in a way, it kind of does because you become more of a marketer than you do just a real estate agent.
I think that's the biggest thing that companies and businesses do. Like, when it slows down and their numbers are down, they pull back on their marketing.
Yeah.
But that's the wrong idea to do
approach.
because you have to double up on marketing. You have to be even more in your consumer space because when things change and people are ready to go, you want to be top of mind, right? Yeah. So that's what I've been doing, especially like, okay, it's slowed down, time to quadruple my marketing efforts. Yeah. Do as many videos, upload as many as I can, and just have backlog. Because as soon as it gets busy, I'm not going to have time to do it. Yeah. And I'm going to have, these months worth of backlog that I can easily reuse. Yeah. Or just use for the first time, and then boom, done.
Yeah, it's smart. I mean, there's obviously websites and more apps coming out, and there's Instagram and social media, and the whole thing about surrounding real estate, not just as a home, but like people like to watch. People like to look at these things. People like to go on their phone and see what the house down the street sold for, and see and so there's a whole host of like more. I had a comment on one of my like, why would you do this stuff? Because I did kind of a funny video in Surrey. I went back to university, so I was kind of dressed funny, and and I did all this
for
stuff
university,
for the university district. And somebody commented and said like, "Oh, well, just sell the home. Don't worry about all this stuff." And I get that mentality because will my funny little video sell the home? No, probably not. But my whole thing is like, the more eyeballs I get on this home, the more opportunity there might be a buyer that is interested. The more buyers that come out to the open houses, maybe I'll get 2 offers instead of 1. Mm-hmm. I've had that happen before. Does it happen every time? No, absolutely not. But I can justify my commissions, my fees, by saying here's all the things that I do to drive business to your home, and it's better than 99% of people on the market.
And frankly, that guy probably wouldn't have even seen it if it was a regular video.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't have seen it.
It worked on you, didn't it?
Worked on you. So I get the whole like, why do it? And again, it's probably not going to sell the home. Yeah. But I'm still doing as much as I can to market the home. But enough about what I do. Let's talk about 2024 because we're all kind of looking at it. And even if you're watching this podcast in February, we're really kind of just getting into the market because January is usually pretty slow. So let's talk about 2024 and what we see. Crystal ball this. If we had a crystal ball, we'll use this legacy glass here. If this was a crystal ball, what do you see in 2024? Viv, I'll start with you.
You know what? I think it's going to be super, super busy if the interest rates continue to hold. Mm-hmm. And I do agree, though, with Alan, what you said before. I think it's going to start earlier than the spring, as long as it doesn't snow too heavily. Then we don't have to worry about that.
So let's talk about that. So earlier than the spring. So traditionally the spring market, as we all know, is like kind of the busy market. The sun's shining. It's a little bit more conducive to going out there. Why do you think, what will make people go, okay, February, or let's go in January, or even early March? Why do you think you'll be busier earlier?
You know what? I just have so many clients looking, and they'll continue looking. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think...
And I think it's also the fear that they don't want to be in this crazy market.
Yeah.
Because once it pops off, due diligence out the window. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do have that rescission period, but how much can you really get done and still have to pay a penalty? Mm-hmm. But then once it goes off, you're paying $100,000, $200,000 in some cases more over asking for these
and
things.
Your interest rates are high already.
Exactly.
Do you think, though, that the 100 and 200 will happen again based on what we just talked about? Interest rates will still be high, even if they come down a bit. They're still going to be pretty high.
I think it all depends on the product, to be honest, because we have still such a scarcity of homes and good product on the market. Yeah. So if somebody comes out with this mind-blowing home that is, priced well, I can see, the 5-6 buyers who've been waiting 7-8 months.
That is true.
Willing to bid way over, knowing or thinking by all the forecasts that the rates are going to be cut. Yeah. I'll be able to weather that storm for 2 months and then pay this, and then after refinance and then figure it all out at lower cost.
So let me ask you this then: how do you talk to clients that you see this coming? Right, we all kind of see this market being able to change come spring. And you want your buyers, and we all have a ton of them that are sitting on the sidelines, you want your buyers to get involved in the market earlier. Now, we're saying that that's going to happen, but that's not going to happen for everybody. That's going to be your smart few. And so, let's call it 10%. How do you get the 90% to agree with you and go, okay, I'm going to buy in January because my realtor, who is making money on a sale, wants me to buy or thinks it's a great time to buy? How do you convey that to them?
I mean, the way I talk to my guys and my, buyers who are sitting, I'm like, listen, first of all, big picture, I mean, you want to buy, we all know that. But I mean, overall, borrowing less money is always a better thing, right? You're borrowing less money. Yeah, it's at a higher interest rate right now, but borrowing less money. Right. Once you get in a busy market, you're going to have to keep going up, 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 and over and over. And you're literally borrowing more money at maybe 0.25% less of an interest rate. That doesn't make sense. Less competition, less having to go over, borrowing the least amount of money is the best position you can be in because then you gain equity faster, right? Matt?
Yeah, well, I just level with them. And I'd say, if you look at all the signs, and nobody has a complete crystal ball, but it looks like we're nearing the bottom of it with the signs from the Bank of Canada.
Yeah.
So the trick is timing, really. I mean, if they've got to sell something, you want to try and see if you can swing buying now. We can put dates out, work with it, and then list in the spring for what you need to sell. But try and time it as much as you can.
And do they listen to that? Do they go, oh, okay, I get it. I do think, because I've had that conversation.
They're super receptive to it. The problem is the lack of product.
Yeah. And that is the huge problem.
And I bend over backwards to try and find that product. I mean, I go back a year.
Yeah, you
year
look
and
at
a half
and terminators.
that didn't sell. That didn't sell. And I've had success with that. I've put deals together.
It's huge.
With
It's
that.
huge. Like I'm doing this right now too.
But even those properties that I look at, there just wasn't much.
Yeah.
It wasn't
And
much
then
out
another
there.
issue too is that these people who couldn't sell in the past, now it's rented out.
Yeah.
Right? So then
That's
now
You got a year in.
Now you have to wait for that lease to expire or buy them out. And then will they agree to a buyout? Probably not, because rents are doing this at the same time.
Yeah.
So they rented it 6 months ago, rent's gone up 30%.
Why would they do that?
Why would they want to? Right?
Yeah.
Well, we've got to get the Allens of the world to tell them the list, because if you're holding back all the product here, that's probably one of the problems. So 2024, what are you seeing in the market? Same idea? Or?
I agree that it's going to be busy. I think the variable in here, the wild card, are the changes that the BC government made to zoning. And I think what potentially you're going to see, it's not going to affect strata properties so much. So your townhouses, your condos are going to probably be busy and roll on pretty stably. I think in the detached market.
You mean the 6 on a lot?
Yeah. I think will it increase housing? Yes. Will it increase pricing on detached homes? It has to.
Yeah.
It has to. When you've got builders out there now that want to be builders, but they can't afford to put together deals to do a townhouse complex.
Yeah.
But now they can pick up a single family lot
And build
and put 6 units on it.
Well,
now they can get the financing for that.
Yeah.
And that's just going to drive up pricing in the detached.
Well, for those 6 units, 2 of them have to be rentals, right? So it's 4 and then 2. Isn't that correct?
You can get, I think, an allowance to just do 1.
1?
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Have you guys seen that happen yet? Because that's kind of at the beginning.
I don't think people have really realized
out.
what the implications of that are.
Yeah.
I think it's going to catch people by surprise. I think those buyers, those builder buyers, I think they switched onto it and go, yeah, okay,
See,
I know what I'm going to do here.
The issue-
I don't think the public has realized
I don't
yet
think
what
so
the
yet.
implications of it. I think the municipalities, they're looking purely at the infrastructure problem that
Yeah.
brings,
Right.
right? Parking,
Yes.
Yeah.
roads,
Well, look
sewers,
at going down
water.
Vancouver right now. Anyway, and it's just back to back on both sides.
Yeah.
Like even downtown Vancouver, because they put all those bike lanes and took parking away. I mean, I get it. Bike lanes are great. Better for the green mission that we have. But still, it's like you're taking parking away, and you're gonna see maybe 1/100th of the amount of bikers in the winter. What did you say? Anyways, yeah. That's my gripe.
Yeah, I think it potentially changes things quite a bit. I think it also changes now the viability of different era of detached houses that can come down. Right now it's typically 70s, if there are that many left.
Mm-hmm.
80s can come down. 90s are still good enough. They have good enough floor plans. They're substantial enough that you're not really seeing them get torn down. You know, your stucco type
Yeah.
Yeah.
90s houses.
Yeah.
I think that could change.
Yeah.
Have you ever like seen one of these being built into a sixplex?
I've seen up to 4 units on one, but not 6 yet.
I've seen a sixplex before, and I guess they had the zoning or whatever, but it was a family who did it. They tore down their family home and then built 6, and each one of them was so small
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
none of the agents they hired, including myself, we couldn't move it because it was just shoe boxes. And they, you know, the idea behind it is, of course, they make money and they can move
I
on
know
and
which one you're
stuff.
talking about.
Well, anyways, it was just so tough. And
Yeah.
if I think about it, unless they're all going to be all in one structure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were 6 separate
Yeah.
ones.
Oh
It
no!
was going to be impossible.
It's not just the zoning to that's changed, but it's the pre-approved plans now.
Yeah, don't they
Right.
have selection?
Yeah.
plan
Yeah, so
selections?
they've got a number of options
Yeah.
for duplex, triplex, fourplex, sixplex with carriage home in the back, with basement suites.
Yeah.
And those are accelerated because you just go, okay, and that's how they got Vancouver specials back in the
This
day.
is the one
They
I
just
want.
they just went back in time,
Yeah.
and they said, okay, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
And they say, great, as long as you build it to that, you don't need to wait for permits or anything. Your permit's already pre-approved. We'll have to come out and do some inspections, so that'll rush things along for sure.
Yeah.
But
But who's going to want to buy them unless the plans are spectacularly, you know,
there
there's
you're going
no
to see an
waste of
investor
space.
class come
Yeah.
back in and buy them up for rentals.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like, right now, we haven't seen the power of, you know, builders doing it yet because the rates are so high, right? Even the rates to build are high. Oh, my
Wow,
God.
Adam.
Jeepers.
Jeez,
Oh, my God. Amateur.
The amateur hour here.
Oh
I
my
thought I'd
God.
turn that off.
All right.
Good, oh my gosh. Sorry. Quick break.
Yeah. Interlude. Yeah, I think builders are also sitting right now waiting for interest rates because, I mean, I have a lot of guys who are interested, but, I mean, just the cost to build is so high right now too, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's tough. I think it's tough for everyone right now with these rates.
Yeah. So will if rates come down, will that be another factor in people buying and getting wise to this stuff? Because I mean, we're at a point right now where we're kind of waiting for the Bank of Canada to pat us on the back and say it's okay to buy, right? So, but then that's a big issue. Is this is what we've wanted essentially? Is that we've wanted this building, we've wanted this density for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, do you see any really big downfalls with this density though? Right now, is it just purely an infrastructure?
Well, it's infrastructure. It's the pricing again.
Yeah.
But I think it's a change in mentality in terms of what kind of housing you can reasonably expect now in your life.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the change that's coming over our generation, which is your classic house that you grew up in the suburbs with a yard and all that. They're basically saying that's not sustainable anymore in a greater Vancouver urban environment for the most part.
Yeah.
So all of you people have to get your heads wrapped around is what they're saying.
Yeah.
You got to get your heads wrapped around the fact that's gone.
Yeah.
Right. You're
Or
all going to
it's
live in
gone.
higher density now.
It's
or you
happening,
got to move out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
And
got
I
to move out
think
of
with
town.
technology and how people are able to work remotely now,
Yeah.
They're going to move out.
they're going to move out, but they're going to have, you know, smaller properties around the areas that they like the most and just work remotely from each of these seasonally. You know what I mean?
And that's why
Would
you
be
see.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avoid the winter.
Yeah,
Hell
well,
yeah.
and why wouldn't you, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about when we talk about Tulum,
yeah.
and we did a Costa Rica investor series, and we've done a bunch of investor series within our brokerage just on like what else is out there. Because, and we're looking at it personally. It's like, okay, well, you know, nobody likes November, nobody likes February. What can we live in a townhouse right now, you know? But what can we do to kind of escape the weather, live somewhere else, get more for our dollars, and live that type of lifestyle if we're going to live in a smaller place without a yard and all that stuff. And I don't think we're alone in that.
The toughest part for us realtors is having to be there for showings and everything, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you just build a team and make them do it.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, and that's why you have collaboration as well too, right? Like even if you,
for
within your peer group, within your brokerage, whatever it may be, like it's always good to be able to collaborate with that because what you'll want, somebody else will want, and you know you can spell each other off. So you know that's I think where our business is going more is that collaboration and that flexibility because I mean buyers and sellers are going to come out with way more information. They're going to, you know, I don't know if you guys not to plug another podcast, but I'll plug another podcast. The Vancouver Real Estate Podcast came out with episode number 400, and they talked about how the dynamics are changing in terms of access to information in the States and in Canada.
I listened to that.
You listened to that as well too.
You don't listen to ours?
He's here. He experiences ours.
I listened to the informative ones.
And so, it's going to, the landscape, and I think that is going to start changing more and more, and maybe even in 2024, if you want to do a crystal ball on it, the access to information, artificial intelligence, where we're going as an industry. This industry has not changed in 50, 60 years. And now we're on the precipice of a lot of technology and a lot of information and these lawsuits that are going down in the States as well. It is going to rock the industry over the next 5 years. There is going to be some pain because I don't think people are prepared for what's coming down to change this industry into a different type of environment. And we're going to have to provide a lot more value going forward than we did.
And I think the difference between the agent of, say, the 80s and the 90s, they were gatekeepers of all the information.
All the information.
Right? Like, you'd go on a tour, and I remember watching my parents go on a tour with their realtor, and like the big binder of listings.
Yeah.
That's how you got the listings back then. I mean, information is just free now. You can get it anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So now we have to really go back to the roots of what we do as agents. We're actually marketers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we need to be marketing properties the best way we can to get the most eyeballs. And this is why I preach this a lot. It's like the creativity. You got to think outside the box. We got to do all these things because at the end of the day, we're marketers. We're marketing their properties. We're marketing our own.
Yeah.
And you have to stand out doing that or else you're going to fall behind.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. These two may have a different opinion on it, but
well, I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, we just don't do it. We agree.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
No,
here's
2024 is the year.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it.
How many years have we heard this?
Do we have
this is
I
5
wish we
years
had,
running.
I wish we had the the podcast 5 years ago. We could
Yeah.
turn back the clock
Yeah.
right here and be like, 2018 is the year.
I am downloading the app this year. I swear
But
to
I
God.
mean, besides social media, if social media were to go away tomorrow, I mean, I think both of you understand marketing is still key. You guys would find other ways. You do other things to market, right?
Yeah, the blessed bunch.
Yeah. Well, and Matt, we won't go into it, but I mean, you're trying.
I'm working on some things.
You're
right
working
now
on some things right now about along those lines, and that's
with
where
that on that realization.
on that realization. Yeah.
And you know,
I
the
mean,
funny thing about that is that Matt, who sometimes I question if he knows how to use a phone, is in the
Right?
tech space.
Yeah. I mean, it's ironic in a lot of ways. But
I think it's that outside looking in
Yeah,
that lets me look at it, objectively.
and
not get too caught up in it.
For sure. I mean, prediction for me. I think have we predicted? Have you done your prediction yet?
I have not, but go ahead.
No. Go. You go first.
2024. I mean, so we're filming this December the 11th, and I've already seen it pick up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And like my phone has been actually going off the hook lately, and like everyone's getting ready to list, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
now we do it.
Now we do it.
Okay? We've been waiting a year.
Yeah.
Now we do it. So we're getting things in the process. I think I have like 5 or 6 listings coming out in like February-ish.
Okay.
So all that's going to come out right away. And I think it's going to be busy fast because I'm already starting to see open houses where there's 40, 50, 60 groups.
Yeah,
I've
interesting.
already seen multiple offer situations. And we are going right into Christmas here.
Yeah.
So the fact that people are going heavily
Yeah.
into it
Yeah.
during this season where typically by December 3rd,
Yeah.
it dies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Big time.
So I think that's a sign right there. I think it's going to start early because everyone wants to get ahead of it before it goes crazy, which it will go crazy because we don't have enough supply for the amount of people. I think what's going to happen is that boom, boom, boom. It's going to be so busy. And then probably by sometime mid next year, the government's going to do something to slow it down again.
Yeah.
Because they have to.
You think so?
I think so.
They always.
Because it's going to go.
It's a fine line to walk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You put the interest rates up. Things go down. You put them down.
It's
Because
too slow.
there's no slack in the market.
Yeah.
So right away they'll shoot up.
Yes. The moment that, all these things hit the media of like 300,000 over asking, if it does get to that again, which I think it can because, again, we've only built 10% of what our population growth has been.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can hit that again. And once it gets to the media, the government's going to have to do something to slow it down.
Well, yeah, and not to bash our own kind here, but when you're talking about the perception and that, and when it gets into the media, 300 over ask, how much are we to blame for realtors as a whole? I mean, or certain ones, with the underpricing.
Yeah.
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 Oh my goodness.
And that's the thing, though.
Right?
The underpricing, it's a good strategy, but when these people are underpricing things like, if I do a strategy that way, the most I usually do is like 5 to 7% below market value.
Yeah.
But like you're seeing these people 30% under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And you're giving people a false sense of hope, which I think is really cruel.
Yeah.
Because
It
these
is.
people have been fighting for a long
Yeah.
time or waiting. And then all of a sudden it's like, I think I can get this. You get, massacred by like 18 other like offers, like 200,000 over you, and you're just like, you give up again.
And with buyers in that situation, when you're working with them in that situation, and they spot one of these, and you look at it, you go, there's no chance.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
This is not going to go for.
But you're still
it's in your
doing your
price
due
right now.
diligence. You're still reading all the docs.
Well,
You're still,
I call it the lottery mentality.
Yeah.
And almost every single client goes, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
And I go, well, you
Famous last
Yeah.
You
words.
kind
I
of
know.
do.
Yeah,
You
you
kinda
kinda
do.
and every single time it's not worked out, right? And it's gone over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just saw, and I was talking to a realtor because he had it on his social media, and this one drives me crazy. It's a slower market right now, as we all know, and there was a listing.
can't.
And there was a listing for $598, and it was online, and they want over $700,000 for
That
it.
actually backfires a lot of the times when it's slower.
Yeah, I
Almost
couldn't-
all the time.
And so you have this listing there, and the people go, "Oh, okay, 600,000. I like that property. Great, let's go look at it." Okay, just let you know, we want over 700. On what planet?
You're listed for 100 days.
Yeah, 100 days at 600, and you haven't.
I think this goes back to what we talked about on the last episode too, where with the changes or the lawsuits happening in the States, and there's one in Toronto as well.
Yeah.
And perception and realtors getting their head out of their ass and realizing that just like Airbnb and those types of issues, we're low-hanging fruit too for governments and for regulation. And if we think that the governments are going to side with us, any level of
my
provincial
goodness.
government, when the public
no.
perception is a certain way, forget
That's a
about
good
it.
one.
Forget about it.
No. Well, I mean, I put on our group chat, and I don't know where this is going to go, but I know that there's a lawyer in Vancouver right now that is preparing to file a lawsuit against, and I'm not sure who, but basically against the industry,
Class
brokerages,
action.
It's a class action, brokerages, the boards and realtors about price fixing on properties and commission fixing. And it's very similar to what's happening down in the States. Now, that's the generality of it. It's actually my client from this year got asked to be the lead plaintiff on it, and
She said no.
And I said no. I mean, they're really good friends of mine. So
Imagine
thankfully
they said yes.
Can you imagine? I would be at the head
Adam
of
would
a
be
class action lawsuit.
I think what we have to
Good
remember
Lord.
here, guys, is that we make the lowest commissions in North America here. Right?
We don't commission fix here.
No.
Well, that's what
That's
they call it. When
Yeah,
buyer is getting paid for by the listing agent. That's basically they call that like price fixing, and so that's what that's one in the States.
I think an argument that I saw online, and this was with Josh Flagg, and he was talking to somebody on like MSNBC or something like that, and they were saying that in what other industry does the seller have to pay or this one side have to pay for both agents? And then he brought up a good fact. Well, he's like, homes are a luxury to have, right? When you look at auctions for like art and other things like that, when you're putting it for sale out there, you pay both sides if you're the seller, because you are the one owning the luxury good and this other person isn't. So you are lucky enough to have this person coming to purchase that.
I think that's the problem, though, is when you say homes are a luxury good.
Yeah.
That's going to
All levels of government and the public are saying no.
It's not.
It's
It's
not
not.
a
It's not a luxury,
No.
and it's not a commodity.
Yeah.
It's a human. It's a human
necessity,
right.
right.
It's a
It's a right.
necessity.
Yeah.
100%.
And that we need to change the mechanics around
Yeah.
real estate to reflect that, and not to reflect it being a traded commodity.
Bingo.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, and that's the big thing is that and you've seen it. You've had comments about housing is a human right and all that, and and I understand where they come from on that. So, we'll see where this whole thing goes. I think 2024, crystal balling it is a big year for a momentous shift in the industry.
Yeah.
I also
think there's a lack of leadership, honestly, in real estate, in the realtor space along this. That there's
I
there's
agree.
nobody
Representing
there's
us,
nobody
really.
at the top
Yeah, who
talking
is-
to realtors saying, okay, everybody, wake up.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
who
one
is
talking
that?
to
We
the
need to-
government either.
No, like who who is our? I know we have boards and the presidents, but who is our rep? I actually can't
really have
think
one.
of one.
We don't
no,
have one.
we don't really have one, which is
Does
interesting.
our real estate president do anything? Like, what's their job?
Who is our president?
I
now?
don't know.
I think they're stuck in the past.
Yeah,
I don't think that they are forward thinking enough to look at it and go, this industry is on the precipice here.
yeah.
Really.
Well, even so, the liability that's associated with it, the numbers that are the E&O that's associated with it. I mean, talking about traditional brokerages, like this could not have been a good year for traditional brokerages based on how much overhead that they have and how the industry is changing so much. So, I mean, does that model go away? We've talked about that a little bit, but there's a lot. I think this 2024.
Isn't there a shift happening there
there's
too?
There's already massive shift
With
happening.
Refo?
Refi?
Yeah, so
Refi?
I mean, they bought out a lot of big bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
When you say bought out,
Like 90%, I believe. Is that correct?
No, they bought, I think, 5 or 6 major bricks and mortar.
But how the
90%
percentage?
ownership of it, I think. of
Oh,
each of
maybe.
those
Yeah, I'm not
brokerages.
sure about the.
It was a majority share for sure.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do is put them on this tech platform.
Yeah.
That's.
So a little bit like real.
What we're doing, yeah.
And again, don't quote me on this, but I heard that it is a really bad version of our tech platform.
Yeah, interesting.
So,
Well, I mean, we'll see. What I've seen as a challenge with joining or launching, being on one of the first ones, as we all were with Real, is that you can't force tech on people that aren't techie.
Yeah.
Like, there's a point, if they are buying traditional brokerages, and especially depending on the demographics of those traditional brokerages, to all of a sudden onboard all these agents onto this platform that may or may not, or let's say it just works really well and it's a good platform. Even then, it's still really challenging to get people into tech when they may go, well, I like John, who was, the leader of this brokerage. Now John's not here anymore because he's sold. Why am I at, blah, 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 traditional house? Why don't I go to the other one that's across the street that's not forcing me to learn all this new technology that I really don't want to do? I'd rather just email in all my paperwork and do it the way that I've always done. And if you've bought a brokerage based on that idea that you're going to just force tech on them, good luck, because I tell you, based on launching this, it will not work. You have to have people buy in and see what the opportunities and advantages are, and if they don't, they'll go to the traditional shop where you just do traditional.
and I think at that point it's going to be survival of the fittest, right? Because I mean, as this, line of work will get whittled down, I think that those who can't adapt will become the blockbusters of the world. You know what I mean?
So do you think that do you think it will get whittled down? Who's getting whittled down? Is it the brokerages or is it the brokers?
I think it's
Both.
Yeah.
Both?
I think
You
both.
think we're going to go we have 15,000 in the Greater Vancouver Regional District right now.
Well,
You
you're
think
always
that's
gonna
go
always gonna
lower?
get those people coming in who think it's easy.
Yeah.
Right? So those new agents will come in, I thought it was easy. It looked easy on TV, yeah. But so those numbers are always going to be inflated.
Yeah.
But there's really a bunch of non-active agents, right?
Yeah.
And really, we've probably come down quite a bit. We just don't know because there's people with active licenses, right?
Yeah.
Remember when MLS switched to the new platform? Lots of people dropped off because they're just like, we just don't want to learn this.
Or even those new disclosures.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When
Web
the new,
forms, any
the DORTS
updates.
form came
really?
out.
Yeah.
I remember
right. Yes.
I did a deal with this older agent, and she was like, I think this is going to be my last deal. She's like, thank you. This was like the smoothest last deal I think I'll ever do. I'm like, well, why are you quitting? She's like, I don't want to do all the disclosures.
Interesting.
I was like, wow.
So you'll think in the next 5 years there could be a shift out of the business from a lot of older experienced agents.
Not just that, and it's getting less attractive to be in the business too, right? Now you want to cut us more in commission. You want to, you have all these zoning rules that don't make sense. You have less product. You have less blah blah blah. Everything is kind of working against the industry. It's not a sexy industry to be in.
Yeah. Even the ones that just hang on to do a deal or two a year, if the commission changes, then it's not worth it. Right now, if they're doing other things and they're just they're still hanging their license somewhere because
do a friend
they're
deal,
family deal,
Yeah.
Once, twice a year, put some money in their pocket.
Yeah.
And if that changes, then it won't be worth it.
Well, think about the fee structure even. Like, we came from a traditional shop that had, monthly fees, and now we were at a split shop that doesn't have monthly fees but takes a percentage of your commission. And I used to always be like, oh, it never splits. Like, if you're making money, you're going to want to be monthly. But man, oh man, like, if you're not doing the business, which most realtors aren't
Agree.
statistically, and you've got a $500 to $1,200 monthly fee plus E&O, right? You're looking at that going, holy crap, like I've got to do at least one deal just to come back to zero on this, let alone all the other things that I have to do and the expenses of that. Like, no way am I wanting to stick in this business.
And that's why some of the brokerages, the bricks and mortar brokerages have just turned into fee machines, right? They're just agent attraction, get them in. They know that their churn is going to be huge, but they don't care because they, as long as that keeps stable, then it's just fee money in.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to disappear because people, you have to know your value. What value are you getting out of these brokerages? And if it's just you're another number to pay a fee.
Yeah. I mean, and the infrastructure and liability for those brokerages, I mean, you can add them on all day long, but if the infrastructure is not there to support those agents and they're going out doing deals, man, your E&O is at huge risk because you're going to be activating that thing pretty soon because they can get into a whole host of problems that you never thought about. So, it's dangerous. Last thing before we get going, because we're almost done, Alan, I want you to talk a little bit about what you just did with the animal rescue. This is kind of a big couple weeks for you, and I think we should promote that.
Yeah, so for about a year and a half now, I've been following all these profiles on Instagram about rescue dogs, especially in California and Texas. They have the highest rate of euthanization of abandoned dogs. So it started by me just sharing it, and then after people coming up to me or messaging me saying, hey, how can I get this dog? So I've been lucky enough to connect with people in California where I'm able to mobilize them to pull the dog before they get euthanized, find transport for them, pay their medical bills, and then, get them either an adopter or a long-term foster. So more recently, I mean, as this keeps happening, I mean, we've been able to save, I think in the last year and a half, I've saved 8. And
amazing.
About 2 weeks ago, so 2 weeks ago, there's this one dog I posted, and her name is Pearl, the sweetest dog ever. And so I found an adopter on Vancouver Island. So we called the next day and found out she had 24 hours to live, or else they were putting her down because she was the longest standing resident. And they wouldn't hold her. And I didn't have people able to mobilize in California until Friday, and it was basically Tuesday. So I got on a plane, and they promised to hold for me if I showed them my itinerary, if I sent them everything. Sent them my itinerary, flew out there, picked her up myself, brought her back. Probably one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah.
The sweetest dog, gave her that life. Now she's got a new family. But making that reel and spreading it out there, and it's only been, less than a week that I've actually released that reel. I've had so much feedback and so many people want to help. We're actually coordinating one right now as we speak to get 2 dogs out, 2 brothers who are supposed to be killed this Wednesday. And we were able to get transport. We were able to get them to fly back here, to be pulled in time, everything, families for them. It's insane. And I'm trying to get this fund together. As you guys know, I'm not going to talk about it much here, but a fund with our brokerage, and hopefully we can help rescues or do stuff like I do, because it's not that big of a cost. I mean, maybe $2,000 to fly out there, pull, and after get them to their families. So, I mean, if we can do something to help this dire situation, which the shelters are overcrowded, like they're killing thousands and thousands of dogs. Like, I mean, if we can help alleviate some of that, help the rescues, because they're all, in debt so much money right now. I mean, I think it'd be a good cause.
So how do people help if somebody's listening to this and they're like, Alan, I want to get involved?
Yeah, message me. You can reach me on my Instagram at VanCityForSale, or they can email me at alan@vancityforsale.com.
Yeah, very good. Well, good on you, because that's a great endeavor. And
thank you.
And we can all get behind that. So.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening to the Subject Free Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, follow, rate, and review. Until next episode, we hope you're going in subject free.